Hi everyone, I'm Jerry, and today I'm going to do an episode on comparisons on some English pronunciations and Chinese pronunciations. Now, this question was posed by a Japanese friend in my English and Chinese exchange club online. If you want to join, links below. And he wanted to ask me what was the difference between the Chinese 吃 and the Chinese 七. So I sort of didn't have an answer right then, since I didn't want to give him a wrong answer. And for me myself, I sort of know, but I just wanted to make sure. But anyway, so I'll just send him this video next time. All right, guys, let's get started. Today we're going to be using a bunch of tongue positionings to do this, and so this is the upper palate, this is the lower palate, two teeth. Makes sense, and while this place back, it's sort of like your throat and where the air comes from. And here is probably the lung. I'm just going to draw not the exact map of the mouth positioning, since that would take ages. But anyway, our tongue for the positioning is actually will be in two steps. So first, we would actually have the tip of our tongue touch the upper palate. Then we would have a stream of air which would rush through and squeeze a gap, and to maintain the gap, doing a fricative sort of sound. So anyway, this would be the first step or first phase, and then it will transition into the tongue not actually touching the palate, but in proximity, very close proximity to the palate. Then after touching, you drop down, air rushes through, forming a fricative sort of thing. But this is more like a plosive, it's sort of a plosive fricative sort of sound. Anyway, we have more examples for it, like吃饭, which means eat. Yeah, and sorry guys if I am not writing the Chinese characters at all nicely, since I'm not really used to drawing the blackboard or whiteboard. But anyway, then there is the 吃. So that would be like 迟到. And that means late. I'm late for school. 我迟到了. So let's just pronounce these two again. 吃饭,迟到, 迟到. So then let's look at the Chinese 七, and I sort of get why the Japanese person confused these two, since they're sort of easy to confuse and they have their indifferences, but of course their differences too. And the differences, I would say, is pretty traumatic though. Anyway, also our palate, teeth, and then our tongue would be sort of like this, and it's sort of strange, but you'll get used to it. This is the tip of our tongue, and this is the middle part, so we're going to use a small surface of the middle of our tongue to touch the palate. And the similarities are the steps or the phases are sort of the same. Then we've pushed the air, forming a fricative and a plosive, sort of. First a plosive, then a fricative. Then we would sort of have a gap between the two, and finally, well, we would produce a sound. That is the qi, qi. And so the important thing is that the tongue, well, the tip of our tongue doesn't touch the palate and doesn't touch the front teeth, well, the upper front teeth, and that is very interesting. And if you do touch one of those things, yeah, the pronunciation would be really weird, and it would sort of sound like the ch, like the chi, yeah. It just all goes wrong. But then let's take some examples here. So anyway, so 起, and this is like 起床. That's an example, and this basically means get up. But you can see here we have sort of a liaison between get and up, and since the get, that T is between two vowels, these two vowels right here, it would be pronounced a bit like a D, so it would be get up, get up, get up, but it's sort of slight and it's sort of between the T and the D, and it's sort of weird, but you'll get used to it. Then there is the qi, like in 空气, which means air. Let's pronounce 空气, 空气, 空气. 呼吸新鲜空气, breathe in some fresh air, get some fresh air. 空气,空气,空气, 起床,起床,起床. Then let's get to the sh sound in English. Okay, now we're moving on to English. So Xian means Chinese and Ian means English, and these two are English pronunciations and English vowel symbols too. So anyway, same old, and then we would have it a bit differently. Now, I'm just going to draw this as nicely as I can, but I'm just learning art these days, and to be honest, this pen isn't the best material to work with. But anyway, here we have our tongue, the tip of our tongue to the middle of our tongue. This part there, we're going to, it's going to get in very close proximity to the upper, on the palate, and then you see there is going to be air rushing from this direction to that direction, forming a fricative sound. So it is sort of like a fricative, and there is many examples like sheep, which means 绵羊. Sheep, sheep, sheep. And then there will be she. So that means 它 sheep, 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 a sheep, sheep, sheep. So anyway, then we will move on to the last, and I emphasize this since these two, they have the same sort of representation symbols for it, but it's sort of different too, and you can see the phonetic symbol in the IPA is this and this, and this is the same as the part from in the right. So the part in the left, the T, we're going to pronounce it too, but like this is like these two, it has two phases. First, you would touch the palate, then air rushes through, forming a gap and producing the sound. So, this one only has one phase, but these three have two phases. So the first phase of the ch sound in English is sort of like this. It's still a surface that is touching with the palate, and after touching with the palate, it immediately drops down as the gap of air, the sort of flow of air just rushes through and then breaks through, forming a gap between the palate and the tongue. So then we would sort of have this gap too, and this gap is actually exactly the same. So this is exactly the same as this, because it doesn't seem so since I have bad art skills, but these two are actually the same, and you just can see there's a gap between this great surface and the upper teeth. Of course, I'm sort of exaggerating here, but you get it. It's just a map that shows you how the tongue actually works, and you have to try it out for a few times to actually get it. We have a lot of examples, to be honest. We have like change. Change. So that means 改变. And then we have charge, which means 充电. So we have change, charge. Okay, so I guess I've said all about these four, and one last thing about these three though is that this part, you use it sort of like this. You curl it this way, but you curl it this way, so it's quite different, and native speakers can tell between the two pronunciations, although they are very similar. So this, if I just pronounce the original vowel, it would be like ch, and this one is ch, and so it's not a lot of difference, but native speakers can still tell. Anyway, all these three are two phases. It is sort of important, and they're sort of plosive fricatives. Anyway, well, so have a nice one, guys, and do subscribe. And if you want to come to my English Chinese online club, click the link below. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, comparisons of Chinese English vowels, well, we'll get right to it. Well, time's up. See you later.